And we're back from Studio 233. Hope you got a good basis of meiosis with that last video. From here, we're going to be able to work on to talk about inheritance and Punnett squares a little bit more. So inheritance is just how genes are passed on from parent to offspring, and Punnett squares are a tool to be able to study those patterns of inheritance and how genes are actually passed on. So we're going to investigate that a little bit today. So let me first just draw you a Punnett square. And just to remind you of what these things look like, I hope everyone just remembers what these things look like and how to do it. This isn't so hard, but honestly, like maybe a raccoon could fill this out. What's really the hard part is figuring out what the letters mean and what they represent. So what I just did there, I took this A and this A, put them right there. That A and that A, put them right there. This one and this one, put them there. This one and this one, and put them there, right? So that's just like Battleship. It's like you take this one, you drag it over to a corner, okay? So like I said, a jellyfish could do this. Anyway, now we have to talk about what the letters actually mean. And so there's capital letters and there are lowercase letters. So we're gonna start there. So our capital letters here and our lowercase letter here, what both of these things are together, they are known as alleles. And I'm gonna box maybe some vocab here in red so that you know these are terms we need to know. So an allele is a different version of a gene. So each allele is a different version of a gene. So I'm going to write that here. Can we see that? Yeah, different versions of a gene. So let's say, for example, big A and little a are the gene that gives you dimples or not, okay? So one of these is the version that gives you dimples, and one is the version of the gene that does not give you dimples. Let's just say that this one here gives you dimples, and this one gives you no dimples. You do not have dimples. And again, I'm just making this up, but this is how this works generally, okay? So you have a version of gene that gives you one trait, and you have a version of the gene that gives you the other trait, okay? So the next thing to note here is that capital and lowercase, you probably remember this too, but capital and lowercase are known as either dominant or recessive. So again, dominant, capital, recessive, lowercase, okay? And what that means, and we'll get to this a little bit later, but what this means is that if it's a dominant allele, a capital letter, you only need one allele, one dominant allele to show that trait. That doesn't make sense now. We will get to it in a little bit. And for recessive, you need two recessive alleles to show the trait. All right, so we have dominant and recessive genes. Okay, where do those letters come from though? Okay, so I don't want you to just like know capital and lowercase letter and that they stand for things. I want you to know that these actually have meaning inside of the cell. So what we're gonna do here is investigate that. Now, let's say that your parents, let's talk about your parents actually. Let's say that your parents, I'm gonna draw their chromosomes. I'm gonna draw, let's say this is your mom. And let's say this is your dad's chromosomes. And so on their chromosomes, remember there are like hundreds of genes, hundreds of different genes. We're just gonna show one gene, the gene for dimples or not. So let's say that your mom has on here a big A allele, right? So the version for dimples, and she also has a little one, okay? And so where did she get these two? Remember, this is a pair, so you get this chromosome from her mom and this chromosome from her dad, okay? And so over here, your dad, let's say he just has the same combination. So this pair, he got one from mom, he got one from dad, and these are the two ones he received from mom and dad, okay? Now, for you, let's say that basically how this works is that your parents are going to split, these are going to split and go into different gametes, and then you will receive either one of these from your mom or one of these from your dad, okay? So let's just say, it doesn't matter, you get this chromosome from your mom, you get a capital A, and let's say you get a lowercase a from your dad. So essentially, you have big A, little a. And this means, we'll get into later, but this means that you are going to, you have a guess? Have dimples. All right, so, but this is not the only combination that you could have received. What are some other combinations you could have received from your parents, right? You could have gotten this one from mom, this one from dad. So big A, big A. You could have gotten big A and a little a from your parents, or you could have gotten a little a and a little a. So these three combinations right here are what we are going to talk about in the next video. Thanks.